I had the chance to meet with Mr. Trump last weekend in Paris, and he told me very clearly that we can avoid those tariffs.
He did it again. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David, and today's top stories here. We've got Captain Schmuck Justin Trudeau wasting more of our money on his European trip. He has wasted a lot of money. Not only has he wasted almost $1 million, he spent thousands of dollars on in-flight food, meals so lavish it makes a steakhouse look cheap. We got some updates on the tariffs and a whole bunch of other stories. Let's jump into this. Update here to the Canada Post strike. They're forcing them back to work. We've got Stephen McKinnon here. First off, though, in the House of Commons.
Well, the job of the Minister of Labour is to respect the Canada Labour Code. That is exactly what we've done. And today I acted decisively to use one of the powers granted to the Minister of Labour by this Parliament under the Canada Labour Code to provide a reasonable solution to workers and a creative way out of this very fundamental impasse that we see at the bargaining table. We're going to return Canada Post services to Canadians and to those who've been suffering over this conflict, and hopefully arrive at a negotiated collective agreement by the spring, Mr. Speaker.
And going over to this post here on X, it says Steve McKinnon orders Canada Post back to work, bringing an end to the 5-week-long strike.
Canada Post and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers remain unable to reach an agreement. Canadians are rightly fed up. The federal mediator has now informed me that the negotiations between both parties are now, in fact, going in the wrong direction. Today, I've used my powers under the Canada Labour Code. It is my view and the view of the FMCS that the parties are at an impasse. I have asked the Canada Industrial Relations Board, if they also determine that there is an impasse, to order Canada Post and all employees represented by CUPW to resume and continue their operations and duties, and to extend the terms of the existing collective agreements until May 22nd, 2025. I am making this decision to protect the interests of all Canadians. It is not a decision I take lightly, but in this situation, it is the right one.
With that, I should note I was at Staples today, and they have a FedEx in there, and it was lined up with people sending out packages through FedEx. It's really kind of backlogged these other systems because that FedEx is actually mostly used for people returning Amazon packages, not so much sending stuff out. Next up, we have this ridiculous scene here in Costco, posted by Harrison Faulkner here. It says, watch as a Muslim man prays in the middle of Costco in Montreal as another man insists that he cannot be filmed without consent.
C'est là, lui.
Ben, il prie.
Ah!
Il prie chez Costco. Il prie chez Costco. Il peut pas prier dans sa tête, il peut pas prier dans son char, il peut pas prier chez lui. Faut
Chez Costco.
Chez Costco.
Costco Montréal, ça?
Ouais. Et là,
Si vous avez pas de voir son autorisation, vous pouvez pas le faire.
Dude, what is this? You want to pray, go home. Pray in your bedroom, pray in your mosque. We need to ban public prayer. This is ridiculous. It doesn't matter what religion it is. This is ridiculous. And on top of that, does this guy carry around a mat?
ça, c'est l'argent.
Like, is he bringing this with him everywhere so he can pray in the grocery store as well? Like, this is ridiculous. This has nothing to do with religion. It's merely a test to show dominance and society's compliance. Do these people work, or do they just do things to get attention and show their dominance? No one should be doing this in any stores. In our headline story here, we've got this one. Justin Trudeau spent $918,000 on a European trip, criticized for lavish spending amidst record food bank usage. That's right, Justin Trudeau doesn't care about Canadians. What he does care about is the $71,000 food bill. Now, you might be wondering how many people. It says right here, 36 to 41 people traveled with him to Italy and Switzerland. This is on June 13th to the 16th, 2024, to attend the G7 summit, Ukraine Peace Summit. Total trip was almost $1 million, but what's of note here, it says this works out to be $1,700 per person, $43,000 spent alone on airplane food. How do you do that? As it says here, far exceeding the monthly grocery budget of most Canadians. On top of that, it says delegation enjoyed meals rivaling those of fine dining establishments, including veal picante Milanese lamb ribs with mustard sauce, Swiss chocolate cake paired with a selection of wines, such as the 2015 Riesling and the 2021 Merlot. Bureaucrats stocked up on $812 worth of junk food. There's a report somewhere else that was at No Frills. They spent $812 at a No Frills. Did they buy every bag of chips in the store? Then again, with the cost of food, it was probably just a few bags of chips. It says here it included Red Bull, chocolate bars, candy, as well as $102 in DVDs for the flight. DVDs. So we go over to this one. It's the same story. They actually have a bit more details here. It says their DVDs were purchased at Sam the Record Man. That's right. There's still one location, I believe, in Quebec. Sam, the record band, still exists, one last store, and that's what they spent our money on. This one has a few more details on the meals here. It says passengers were given a choice of grilled chicken with lemon, capers, and mashed potatoes, glazed carrots, lamb ribs with mustard sauce, pilaf rice, and sauteed spinach, cheese ravioli, rose sauce, baked cod with lemon, garlic butter, 2021 Chardonnay. There's different wine selections here. 2021 Mission Hill Reserve Merlot from BC, beef stroganoff. It's just ridiculous. Canadians are starving, and this is how they waste our money. They should be in jail for this. Next up, we got this clip here of Chrystia Freeland. Posted by Harrison Faulkner. It says Chrystia Freeland appears emotional when asked by journalists about reported tensions between her and Justin Trudeau. There's a lot of body language in this video.
Hi there, it's Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. We've all agreed to do one question so everyone can get in. Minister Freeland, we've been reporting all week about tension between your office and the Prime Minister's office over the fiscal policy in this country.
First off, she's extra twitchy here. Like, she can't even, it's like she just wants to get out of her own skin. She doesn't even want to go up to the mic because she doesn't want to address the question. She will here eventually.
Said that the Prime Minister is again in talks with Mark Carney to join the government, and the Prime Minister appears unwilling to personally defend you in public. How can you stay in the government when the Prime Minister continually tries to cut you off at the knees like that? And will you fight back against this effort to replace you?
So you'll notice immediately right away, this is a fake smile. She's masking her emotion here. And she's really trying to hold it because she's trying to hold this together, period. She probably wants to cry.
Well, thank you for the question. For me, it is a huge privilege that I do not take for granted to serve Canada and Canadians every single day. It's a big deal. There are kids here who went to school with my daughter who are great young innovators, and I'm really proud to be able to offer them something that will help their company.
Massive deficit. That'll help you out, right, guys?
I'm proud and grateful to be able to serve in the cabinet of the Prime Minister. And I really don't spend a lot of time focusing on Ottawa gossip. My focus is on doing what I can to serve Canada and Canadians in what's a really challenging time for our country.
The way she's talking, it sounds like a speech, like she's stepping down, like this is her last moments. There's the conflicting reports going on. I think it's more likely she's actually getting fired and tossed out versus promoted to Prime Minister. Check out what Justin Trudeau said just a couple of days ago here.
Improve our communities, to improve our neighborhoods, to build a better set of opportunities for our kids. Every election is about that as we approach what will be an election year next year.
An election year next year. So he's not going to be stepping down the rest of this year. Maybe it could be the beginning of next year. I doubt it. I think Captain Schmuck here is going to be pushing this forward all the way to October. I think he really does want his kid to vote for him. His kid, Xavier, I think turns 18 on the 18th or 19th of October, just a few days before the election, which then would make him eligible to vote for his dad. I think Justin Trudeau, this narcissist, cares about that quite a bit. Not to mention he's getting paid $405,000 a year, $1,000+ a day. So obviously he wants to stay in as long as possible because he's greedy and doesn't care about Canadians. I don't think Melanie Joly's going to be taking over the reins. Now jumping back to this, let's take a look at the comments here. She's getting away with everything she's done. This is all for our ongoing protection. Twitchy is about to be replaced by Mark Carney. She's got her 2 weeks notice. So Mark Carney can be appointed as finance minister, even though he hasn't been, elected to a riding. It's a little bit of a funny situation, but it is possible and has happened in the past. We've had a couple examples in the past. Michael Fortier, appointed by Stephen Harper, the Public Works and Government Services Minister from 2006 to 2008. C.D. Howe from 1935 to 1939, Minister of Railways and Canals. As it says here, non-MP ministers are allowed. You can have a temporary appointment, which is what Stephen Harper did back in the day. You can also have a by-election, and they can also be a Senate appointment. So Trudeau can bring him in. The difference is Mark Carney wouldn't be allowed to sit in the House of Commons, so he could still be the finance minister. He wouldn't have the same parliamentary privilege as all the other MPs. Next up, we got Doug Ford here. Some more updates to the whole tariff situation here.
So sticking on that topic of energy, Trump responded to your energy threat yesterday saying, that's fine, go ahead and do it. What is your response to President-elect?
Well, what you didn't hear on the tapes after, he says, I really want to make a deal with Canada. That's the first time he's ever said that. And I respect the position he's coming from. I'm sure he respects the position we're coming from. As he also mentioned, he has lots of friends in Canada. Well, we have lots of friends in the U.S. That's the reason we need to make a deal, because we're part of the family, the larger family. 900,000 Americans live up in Canada and 800,000 in the U.S. Canadians live down there. Millions of people cross the border every day. I was speaking to a congressman in Florida, and I just reminded him, Canadians own $90 billion with a B, $90 billion worth of real estate. 3.2 million visitors visit his state every single year from Canada, and they pay $1 billion in taxes. But every congressperson I speak to, or governor or senator, I'm not hearing the same thing as what I'm hearing from the president. So I'm hearing, let's get moving, let's make a deal and get this done. And we'll get through it. So there may be a few bumps in the road. We just have to be prepared.
They should be focusing on, strengthening the border and just avoiding the whole problem to begin with. Is he being deliberately obtuse, or is he just making an honest effort to fix the border issues and the tariff stuff just goes away? Exactly, yeah. We don't need to be trying to strong arm him. Just fix the border. We also got the premiers here of Quebec and Newfoundland chiming in on this.
Of course, Doug Ford in Ontario has threatened to stop selling power to the U.S. amid tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump. Is that something either parties here will consider as well?
These tariffs will have significant impact on families and macro economies on both sides of the border. We hope it is just bluster. We're preparing as if it is not. There will be no winners in a trade war. Certainly, from Newfoundland and Labrador's perspective, we have no interest in stopping the flow of oil and gas, our incredibly valuable and now well sought after world-class oil and gas to the United States.
Yeah, I had the chance to meet with Mr. Trump last weekend in Paris, and he told me very clearly that we can avoid those tariffs if we do what needs to be done with the borders. He doesn't want to see any more illegal immigrants coming from Canada to U.S. So I think the best choice right now for Mr. Trudeau is to table a plan with money, with a number of people to better secure the border. I think we have to do that. It's a lot better than getting 25% tariffs starting on January 21. So I prefer that than starting a war and stopping sending energy to United States.
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, just strengthen up the borders, clean it up. But obviously Trudeau is too busy insulting Donald Trump and talking about feminism to actually do that. Evidently, Canada is inept at diplomacy and negotiation, even at bringing neighborly, as evidenced by nonsense from Trudeau, Ford, and Freeland. A lot of people disappointed in Doug Ford, taking the wrong approach. And we've got Scott Moe talking about this. On top of that, calls for an election.
And so my suggestion was to actually bring the CBSA under an arm of the military, count it as your 2% military spend, and then allow your military to help with some of the short-term staffing challenges that we have in that space.
There was some aggressive pushback against any Trump tariffs, including export bans. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has been talking about restricting electricity sales to the U.S. Is Saskatchewan considering any restrictions along that line as well, whether that be oil, potash, et cetera?
No, what we'd be looking for is how do we actually advance this conversation to get away from the talk around tariffs and get back to doing what we do in North America, which is we are very much part of the energy and the food security supply chain. However, in saying that, we've just heard today that the federal government may be looking at export tariffs on oil, potash, and uranium, export tariffs on our own products, so taxing Canadians on products that we are exporting, which is exactly ridiculous as it sounds. And most certainly we would say that any talk of that is not on in this province. It's a betrayal of those that work in the industry. It's a betrayal, I would say, more broadly of Canadians. So we would encourage, if that's where the federal government is looking for retaliatory action, that they very quickly reconsider. And we would say, in addition to that, that maybe it's time for Canadians to have a say and a choice, and to determine who they would like to have a mandate, a 4-year mandate to negotiate with the incoming Trump administration. We see President-elect Trump with one of the strongest mandates that we've seen in recent history to negotiate on behalf of Americans over the course of the next 4 years. Alongside that, we see a Republican majority in the Senate and in the House. We're over our 4 years of what would be considered the norm for our minority administration here in Canada. And maybe what we need is someone to have the same mandate in Canada to negotiate with that incoming Trump administration. And so we would ask Prime Minister Trudeau to do the right thing, to give Canadians the opportunity to make the choice on who is going to represent them at the table.
It's unbelievable that Trudeau gets to decide, not us. No, he gets to hold us hostage. We're well beyond that 4-year limit, all thanks to Jagmeet Singh. This is such a dumb idea on so many levels. Yeah, taxing our own stuff that leaves the country. Next up on Far Off Ripoff, let's take a look here. We got a couple of them here, $5 million. This is in Iraq. Project aims to improve gender-responsive decision-making in political institutions and processes. This project also seeks to strengthen women's movement in Iraq. I really think at some point Trudeau's gonna be starting some feminist organization and try to get donations, make a business out of it or whatever, because really he's just dumping our money around the world into these feminist projects. But I mean, gender-responsive decision-making in political institutions? Come on. Here's another $5 million to Afghanistan. The project aims to empower Afghan women to become leaders and drive change for Afghans' future, giving them better access to university. Because doing that for Canadians, forget about that. Let's do that for the women of Afghanistan. How do they know they're women? Do they tell them they're women? What about non-binary or two-spirit? How about drag kings? Should drag kings also be empowered to become leaders and drive change and for Afghanistan's future? What a joke. And finally here, $11.8 million. Trudeau spent her money in Burkina Faso. This project aims to improve climate and economic resilience of women through the preservation and restoration of biodiversity and sustainable use of forest and agroforestry ecosystems. Trudeau's starting some global feminist organization. It's the only thing that makes sense, how much of our money he's just throwing around the world. If anyone can tell me what this word salad means, I would love to know. But let's take a look at where this is. Burkina Faso. So this is about all I knew about it. It's in Africa. It's one of the internal states here. And Trudeau's giving our money for the resilience of women and forestry in this place. That's a weird building. Yeah, it's actually quite a bizarre place. And if you look at this place, where are the forests? There's really not a lot of forests. I mean, you zoom in and look at this. This is very sparse. There's little, tiny little patches. Even this is mostly grass. Where are the forests, Trudeau? Even this patch here, this is mostly a park, but if you zoom in, because you can see the straight lines, but you zoom in, this is not forest. These are like shrubs. Where are the trees? There you have it, Captain Schmuck doing what he does best, waste our money, offering little value to Canadians, and eating lavish meals on our dime. Maybe if we're lucky one of these days, Trudeau will take a trip to the other side of the world, and he'll just stay there.